Think of cognitive dissonance in this term. You've got two parts of your mind. Now, not physically, not literally, but figuratively speaking, metaphorically speaking, you've got two parts of your mind. You got the front of your mind and the back of your mind. So the front of your mind is whatever you happen to be thinking at the moment. The back of your mind is something that's been kind of stored away, like you put things in your attic, or maybe you store things in your garage or a shed or whatever. You're not thinking of those things. They're thoughts that you're not using at the moment, but they're still there, right? So a narcissist is setting himself up for failure. And they know it, but it's in the back of their mind. You know, it's not a conscious thought, but we know it's there. It's not the front of their mind. I mean, the front of the narcissist's mind, he or she is thinking that they are beyond failure, they are above failure, they're just perfect. You know, they're so savvy, they're so clever that they cannot fail. Now, we're talking about the narcissist in relationship to you. You are the person they have love bombed. You are the person that they have groomed. You are the person they have brought into their sphere of influence. You are the person that they are abusing constantly. And they think it's going to go on forever in the front of their mind. But in the back of their mind, and we can read that. We can read what they're thinking in the back of their minds. In the back of their mind, they know they're going to fail. All right, how do we read the back of their minds? Think of a poker player. So the poker player's playing poker with his opponent, and he's watching his face. He's watching his opponent's hand gestures. And his opponent has poker face. He's not going to give away any indicators. But still, a good poker player will pick up on something. We call those tells. Doesn't matter how well they're hidden, there will be things that tell the poker player what his opponent likely has in his hand. Same thing when we're watching a narcissist. Only they're not savvy enough to hide these things. They're right out in the open. So it's fairly easy to read the tells that tell us what the narcissist is thinking in the back of his mind. And in the back of his mind, he knows he's going to fail. What? I mean, what does that tell? What is he doing that is so obvious up front that we know this guy's setting himself up for failure? Well, it's the fact that the narcissist at the very beginning, I mean, even during the love bombing stage, to a very small degree, he or she has already begun trash talking you, the smear campaign. Now, they keep it low key, very subtle, but they can't help but to do it. But why do they do that? What's the smear campaign all about? Why would they even want to? It is because they know they're going to fail. They know they're going to lose you, and they know that you are going to expose them. So when that time comes, they want to make sure that everybody sees you as the bad guy and the narcissist as the good guy. So that is the tell, the fact that they begin the smear campaign very early. Now, once the final discard occurs, then the smear campaign goes into high gear, or actually just before it happens. That is an indication that you are about to be discarded when the narcissist begins this over-the-top trash talking of you. And you begin hearing from all these people coming back, or maybe you have some friends who won't talk to you anymore. They're mad at you because of the way you treated the narcissist, even though there's nothing there, you know? Where are these people getting this thing? Well, that smear campaign that begins at the very beginning. Subtly, but it begins. That is the tell that tells us what the narcissist is thinking in the back of his mind. And eventually, it moves to the front of his mind, but he still doesn't think that he is defeated, that he is lost. He thinks that he is just changing strategies, that he's a little bit savvy. He's done with you, time to discard. No, he's failed. And keep in mind that the narcissist has several victims going on at once. So while he or she is abusing you, there are other people in his or her life that he or she is abusing as well. You ever seen one of these guys? They have the stage act. Well, they'll take a plate and they'll twirl it or spin it on their finger. Then they set it on a stick. Here's this plate spinning on a stick. Nice little trick. Then they take another plate and they spin it and put it on a stick. And they do that, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 times. So they have all these plates spinning at once, but the first plate starts to slow down. So the narcissist, gives it a little spin to help it out along to get it back going. But eventually, those plates, all of them, are going to stop. So you are the plate, and eventually, you're not going to spin forever, right? So the narcissist knows that. So he's got all these others going. So when you stop, he can take another plate and get it going. So that is his life, basically. He has a lifetime of spinning plates, that is to say, of abusing his victims or her victims. That's how they do it. Now, so the narcissist, number one, his ultimate failure is overconfidence. But there's a second failure that the narcissist makes, mistake that he makes that he will never admit to. And that is he makes the mistake of underestimating you. The narcissist thinks he's brilliant, he's savvy, he's clever. You can never figure him out because, well, you're to his, from his perspective, you're an idiot. Front of his mind, back of his mind, he probably knows better. But again, he doesn't use the back of his mind. So the narcissist is thinking that you will never catch on to him. But again, the fact of the matter is you are going to be able to expose him. And again, the tell is there by the way that the narcissist begins to trash talk you. It should be very obvious. All right, how do we deal with this? I mean, once we figure it out, and keep in mind, like the narcissist has cognitive dissonance, we have the same thing, but it's different. First time you met a narcissist, remember, maybe you fell in love with this person, so you had a romance, and you were convinced you finally found the right person. Lucky you, right? This is the perfect person, the love of my life. And that became so much a part of your thinking process, your brain was just saturated with the thinking of the narcissist is the good guy, but you didn't know he or she was a narcissist. But then, he or she begins doing these things that narcissists do. They abuse you. They may become angry. They may steal from you. They may disrespect you in any one of 1,000 ways. They may steal from you. They may try to shame you in front of others, and these things begin to compound and compound and compound. And that thinking that you had during the love bombing stage, that begins to move to the back of your mind, but it's still there. And in the front of the mind is reality. This is a bad guy. I mean, this is really a rotten person. So now you have the cognitive dissonance. As well as the narcissist, you have these competing, conflicting thoughts. In the back of your mind, you think this is a really good person. Front of your mind, it's kind of obvious that he's not. What are you going to do? Well, eventually, here's what happens. The narcissist will never go back to the love bombing stage. Now, maybe during the hoovering stage, I mean, if he totally breaks out and gets away from you and there's a final discard, which is not so final if he tries to come back, well, then he may try the love bombing over again. But during the cycle, the narcissist does not try to love bomb you again because, quite frankly, he doesn't care or she doesn't care. They're quite amused with themselves. They're able to abuse you and get away with it. They're not going to go back to love bombing because that's not the real them. And so eventually, the front of your mind that sees this bad guy is going to overwhelm the back of the mind, and this can take a very long time, that falsely believes this is a good guy. That's called deprogramming. You know, somebody been brainwashed, they need to be deprogrammed. Somebody in a cult, they need to be deprogrammed. Otherwise, they keep believing the nonsense they were taught in a cult. And if you've ever been in a cult, you know what I'm talking about. That's why we say that being entrapped by a narcissist is very much like being in a cult, just a one-man cult, one-woman cult. And by the way, virtually every successful cult leaders, every one of them is a narcissist. I don't know of any exception. So in your mind, cognitive dissonance, this old thinking, this is a good guy, eventually has to give way to the sunlight of reality, and that is, this is a bad guy. Okay, now what? Now you're on to him. Now what? Well, then the smear campaign intensifies because he knows, not going to admit that it's a failure. He's going to say to himself that this is a strategic move. Time to move on from this guy. He will pat himself on the back that he duped you, and he will even express duper's delight. That's where he kind of smirks at you. Yeah, I got you, didn't I? They don't see that as a failure, even though it actually is a failure. He wasn't able to keep you. She was not able to keep you ensnared. So off they go, leaving you behind. Duper's delight. They're happy that they did it. So what happens to the back of your mind? Eventually, it's going to dissipate, and it's going to be gone. and rational thinking will take over. But I got to remind you, sometimes it takes a very long time because remnants of the subconscious are still back there thinking, remembering how nice this guy was, what a good friend he was, or what a wonderful lover he was, or whatever, or she was, as the case may be. So what do? Well, what I do is I get rid of these people. I think you knew this was coming, right? Get as far away from them as you can. They discarded you, you discard them. We call it gray rock, or what we really mean is you break all contact whenever possible. I got to tell you, there's one person in my life, there's only one. But there is one person in my life who is so toxic that I cannot be around her. I mean, I won't be in the same room with her if at all possible. And I've managed to go several years without being around this person. And it drives me crazy because she will sometimes try to contact family members so she can use them vicariously to get at me. That is, that they'll try to use family members or friends to become narcissists by proxy to get at you. Some people call them flying monkeys. It's really frustrating when they use the people who are closest to you to get to you, but she does that. But personally, nah. I haven't been in the same room with this person for 2 or 3 years. And I think longer than that, there was just one encounter, and I wish I hadn't done that. Learned my lesson well. So what you do is you get away from these people. See those 2 rectangles on the screen? You want to keep talking? All right. Let's keep hanging out. All you got to do is click on one of those 2 rectangles and our conversation will continue. But if not, well, thanks for stopping by, and we will see you all next time.